Access matters.
Access matters.
Access matters.
Access matters.
Access matters.
A podcast of IRA with Janine Stanley.
Episode 6, Practical Access.
Welcome to Access Matters. I'm Janine Stanley, IRA's Director of Customer Success and Engagement. In this episode, we're going to talk all about practical access. What does practical access mean? I took a recent vacation with my family, and during that vacation, practical access took the form of a whole mix of things, from applications to actual human beings providing services in a way that I could take advantage of to the fullest. When it all comes down to it, as you'll hear in today's interview, we all have some very basic needs, and meeting those basic needs is really what practical access comes down to. And when you think about what people really need, food, safety, security, etc., those are all pretty important. And then we get to things like community and affiliation, and those things can't really happen to the fullest without the initial access. That's the key. Why do people get interested in advocating for greater access in their communities? Today's guest, Anthony Corona, is one of those people who, long before a move down the East Coast, realized that advocating for access to his community was going to play a major role in his life. And now, my interview with Anthony Corona.
I'm the Access Governmental Affairs Chairperson for the Florida Council of the Blind. For those who might not be familiar, it's an affiliate of the American Council of the Blind. And I've been in this position, this is my second year now. I tutelaged under an amazing advocator, Ms. Debbie Grubb.
Yes.
And I have, a lot of open projects right now, and very happy to be seeing some of the fruits of the labor, to see some of the changes happening and some things moving forward.
You are also an amazing community advocate on a number of levels. To start and get our audience familiar with what those levels are, let's hear a little bit about your backstory. You are obviously a New Yorker. You can't lose the accent. It's kind of like my Appalachian. You can't.
Oh, is that what gave me away, Janine? I mean, really? Come on now. Yeah, I'm originally from Staten Island. I was born in Staten Island. My father, in my young life, was in the Navy, so we lived in Virginia. We lived in Texas. I spent the bulk of my life, though, in New York City. I was sighted until I turned 40. And during that 40th year, it was a bad year. I lost my dad. I lost my eyes all in like the space of a week. At that point, I was working for the Associated Press. I had been there for 10 and a half years as the East Coast entertainment editor. And that was not a position that I could quickly learn some skills and just be able to do. I had a period of time where I was on sabbatical, a longer period of time where they kept me on the books and gave me small projects to do while I was trying to learn as much tech and mobility as I could. But eventually we all realized and decided that that piece of the business is too fast-paced for me to be able to do without sight. And being that it's entertainment, which covers movies, videos, photographs, I had to come to terms with that. And 2 short years later, I fell in love and moved to Florida, where my advocacy in the blind and low vision community really began. Before that, I had been advocating with the autism community, research and early intervention. I had originally gone to school for recreational therapy. But when I got to Florida, I got involved with the Florida Council of the Blind. And I had been involved with New York State Council of the Blind on a small level. But it wasn't until I got to Florida that I really found my advocacy home.
Certainly, on many levels, there's a lot of advocacy needed in Florida. I think we can say that for any side that you're on, I guess. Advocating on the human services side for actual people is something that never goes away in Florida. And part of that is because of that transient population.
I just wanted to say this one sentence. I do believe, no matter, as I love the way you phrased it, no matter what side you fall on, I do believe that advocating, in all of these various realms for service, for understanding, for inclusion, is in all 50 states. It's varying degrees. And because of a certain race that's happening and, certain high profile acts that have happened here in Florida, I think we're a little bit more on the radar than other places, but it's everywhere you go. And I just really want people to always remember that.
I ask everyone who comes on this podcast, what does access mean to you? The term access, if you could define it beyond the dictionary, what does that mean to you?
From a very personal standpoint, access for me means that in a space and place where I feel that the playing field is level, that because of my blindness and other areas that I advocate for, that in spite of those or because of them, I'm on that level playing field. And that's my personal heart definition.
With that definition, that I like the equal playing field. I don't think anyone has quite put it that way yet here on Access Matters. So being on that level playing field, then what kinds of things are you able to bring to the table in your various roles?
Well, I always start off with saying I'm a people person. I love making someone's day, finding something new and interesting about someone, learning something from them, and hopefully teaching or enlightening them in a way that they might not have before interacting with me. I consider myself to be a pretty smart person. I had a great GPA and a lot of life experience. And when you marry intelligence with a good set of life experiences, it enables you to be a great conversationalist on top of that. I believe that I'm a high level, empathetic kind of person, which again, add that to the mix, just takes advocacy and outreach to the next level. And I'm constantly searching for what I like to call the compassionate space in the heart. I truly believe, again, kind of going back to that, no matter what side or color you fall on, I truly believe that when we step back and we think about things as, and I'm using air quotes, humans from the human heart, we can at least find understanding of difference and still agree to disagree without the hurt that seems to be so very prevalent in the world we live in now.
I was making an observation as you were telling your backstory about how going from that fast-paced media world into blindness, and your blindness was not a gradual thing, was it? It was a pretty sudden thing.
Yeah.
And that had to have been quite a shock. I know a lot of our guests on this particular podcast have been very honest about being trying to pass basically as sighted. I'm guilty as charged. We had a lot of time. You did not. I'm just wondering a little bit about how that has shaped this view that you have of advocacy and of what you bring to the table.
When you're involved in a high level in an organization like the American Council of the Blind, and I have friends in NFB and the various other organizations, you find yourself in these conversations often. My partner happens to be someone that has RP, and so he lost it in stages and in plateaus. And he's also someone who is very honest about trying to quote unquote pass. The only way that I can really explain this is I didn't think about it much, and I thought about it every moment of every day. I was so focused on trying at first to get back to work, to get back to the life that I'm used to, I knew. And so I need to get mobility. I need to learn this. What's that thing talking? How do they make the computer talk like that? Once it talks like that, I'm going to be golden. I know how to use the computer. I've been using it since I'm 6 years old. So I really didn't stop and think. I most certainly didn't stop and grieve. And a year or so into it, when things started to slow down and I didn't have a job, and I'm trying to figure out which jobs to look for. And I was in the process of trying to get a guide dog. That's when I really started to acknowledge and understand that I had put it on the back of the shelf because I didn't really want to deal with it. It was in my face every moment, every time that I poured coffee and spilled, or I thought the glass was an inch away from where it was, and then it was shattered all over the floor. I couldn't escape it, but I didn't really feel it or think about it for a long time. And when I finally had to, I did some therapy to understand what I was really feeling. And a lot of it was mixed up with my dad dying too. So there was a lot to unpack, but I was 40 years old. And, with the grace of whatever higher power you might happen to believe in, I wanted another 40 years and I didn't want to live like that. So, I kind of had to force myself to make take the box off the back of the shelf, open it up and take everything out and see exactly what it was and what I needed to do with it.
I think people often say, oh, I could never, if I went blind, I could never do that. I would, do something drastic.
Janine, I was one of those people. I was.
See.
And I've told this story in another avenue. Very short story. I don't do well with a cane. And I had gotten to the point where I can't do this for another 40, 50 years. I can't live this way. And I had placed everything on getting my guide dog. And I was matched with my current guide dog's brother, actually, and he was too much dog for me. And I thought, okay, well, I hadn't had a plan in my head per se, but I know what I need to do now. I need to wrap things up, tell everyone that I love them, and I've had a good life. And thankfully, I'm crossing myself as I say this, I got rematched with Bodhi, and that's really when life came back for me, or began to come back for me.
I can empathize with that. I got to a point when I finally admitted that I had lost all of my vision to glaucoma, and it was a bit of a slow slide, but it was, one of those, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this anymore. And I think for anyone who is out there in the quote unquote regular world and is listening to this podcast and thinking, oh, you guys are just really brave, I could never do that. You probably could. If you are facing this, if one of your employees is facing something like this, ask how you can be supportive, please, because you never know what even a small bit of assistance out there can mean to somebody.
And I'm going to add to that by saying, don't ask all the time, but don't stop asking completely either, because in the beginning, at least for me and a few that I've spoken with throughout the years now, we wouldn't be able to tell you what we need. And most likely, I know what I would have told you. I don't need anything. I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to seem weak. I didn't want to appear, needy to anyone. And I pushed a lot of people away, and they stopped asking. And I've apologized and made my amends for those things. But that's the one thing I will definitely add. Don't ask every day, because it's hurtful and it's annoying, but don't stop asking either.
Let's talk about where you live now, and of course going back to New York, but where you live now and what having access means in your day-to-day life. Tell us about where you live and what kinds of things you are able to access in that area.
Well, I'm going to jump back to New York for a second. For those of you who have watched movies and have never actually experienced New York City, and I grew up in New York City. Staten Island is a suburb. It's a little bit more spread out and more suburban, but the rest of New York is, you can walk out your door and you'll never walk more than 10 or so blocks to find transportation. That's the world I grew up in, and living in
it's awesome.
It is, and it's good transportation. It's not the best in the world, but it is probably one of the best transit systems in this country, at least. And it is everything when you live in a city like New York. So I moved to New Miami, Florida, for love and for a better life. It definitely, I don't have to shovel snow. So right then and there, it's a better life. The trade-off, transportation here is not very good. It's an antiquated, very old system that's still being used. It's a lot of fixed route. And it's a very, very spread out. Miami-Dade County is the city, basically. What people think of as, Miami South Beach, that's an island off of the main county. And there's a bunch of islands that consist of. So you'd have to transfer from my house, which is a less than 10-minute drive to the beach. I would have to take 3 buses to get to the beach. So I was shell-shocked. The idea that for me to get out and get somewhere, if I want to use paratransit, of course, you need at least 24 hours to make those plans. But even getting to the beach or getting to go shopping, I literally have to plan it out, find out when because the bus is also New York City, they run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh, yeah.
Not so much here. So sometimes you'll have the buses run once every 2 hours, once every 15 minutes or once every 2 hours. And at 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning, there's no buses at all. And so that completely shook my life up. And I'm still, quite honestly, learning things about how to travel here in my home city. And it knocked me on the hubris ladder down a peg a few, because you think wow, if I can drive in New York, if I can travel in New York, if I can, go from the subway to the Long Island Railroad to riding a bike, then I can travel anywhere in the world. And
well, what's that song say? If you can make it there.
You can make it anywhere.
Not so much,
No,
though.
not so much. And so
yeah.
it's been a big learning curve here. I want to do whatever I can to help my personal family and my larger community family get closer to a place of feeling that I had right before I left New York. I believe it's possible. I know that much more advocacy is needed, and much more hands and feet are needed, but I'm not going to stop trying.
So you talked about computers and learning computer skills and all sorts of adaptations. So what kind of technology do you use? What kind of assistive tech? What are some of the things that you find yourself using every day to maintain this level of access?
Well, I'm an Apple boy.
All right.
I did some research when I first started using VoiceOver and understood that Apple revolutionized assistive technology. And so, they'll always have a level of loyalty from me. That comes with VoiceOver, and the Mac is a tool that I always used in media. Most media outlets are a lot more Mac-based than they are Windows.
Oh, absolutely.
But what I remember from my visual life, and then what the computer is telling me, that took a long adjustment to stop my brain from trying to find it the way I remember seeing it. But I'm going off on a tangent. There's another product called Envision Glasses. It runs on the Google Enterprise,
yes.
The Google Glass system. And over the last year, the improvements that have come to, I would say I use them maybe 2 or 3 times a week for the first year that I had them. Over this last year, I'm now using them multiple times a day, and I absolutely love them. As far as some apps and mobile technology, I've been a part of the Ira family for a long time at this point. Ira was one of the first tools that I found. Everybody was using something called Nearby Explorer. And I used that for a little while. I loved it, but then Microsoft Soundscape came out, and the other one, Seeing AI, they came out relatively. And so TapTapSee and all those other ones, I kind of faded into the background between the native stuff that's already in the Apple products and then these Microsoft products, and of course, Ira. Ira was a life changer for me. There's a new app that I am very, very fond of. It's called Oko. And I truly hope that they find a way to make that available on the Envision glasses. That'll make my life even easier.
For those who are not familiar, Oko is an app that identifies walk lights with signals and lets people know when the signal changes. And as you're walking across the street, it will help you keep track of where that signal is and where that pole is, so you don't
Left
veer
or yeah.
as you're walking, which a lot of us are inclined to do.
I have to tell you, Janine, too, the Envision glasses incorporated an AI function, and Be My Eyes recently incorporated it, and I've been using both of those as well. But my preferred, and there are a few out there, my preferred AI technology is the Bing chat. And it that also, I ask it, I need to get here, and it will give me, step-by-step directions. I can double check that with maps. And with AI technology, I always make this disclaimer: check and double check, because it can give you wrong information.
Yes. Yes.
But what I love about Bing is
Yes.
that it gives you all of the reference points right there, so you can check them out for yourselves. And matching all of these or marrying all of these technologies with each other has made getting through the day, both travel wise, and also getting tasks done, it has given me more and more of my day back. Now, if I can just get paratransit and the fixed route systems down here to work, then I'd be back to my New York level of life.
As we think about those prevalent initials in our minds these days and talk about coalition building, DEI and A, which I'm sure there are a couple other letters in there as well now. I've heard a few other variations of that, but the whole space of diversity, equity, inclusion, and now accessibility. How do you think that's going?
I hate that it took so long to get, the A into, and it's not even, it doesn't roll off the mouth, but it took so long to get the A. So that's my first comment. People listening may have picked up, I've used the term my partner multiple times. I'm part of the LGBTQIA, oh God, have they added any more letters? No, I'm kidding. A community. And so I have been advocating, I've been advocating since I'm a teenager. The true answer to your question is I don't think we're doing very well with it. Honestly, I don't think we're doing very well at all. I think there are a lot of initiatives out there, and there's a lot of true and positive coverage, both media and government and corporate services. The want is there, the want to do better, the want to elevate and allow for that level playing field that we opened up talking about. That, I believe, is there, but we're not anywhere near where I think we should be at this point. And we could go through symptoms, again, that could also be a 5-hour conversation, but I think the biggest symptom that we're looking at this point is we're no longer hearing each other with hearts. We're no longer looking at each other, through our hearts. And we're not even allowing our mind to weigh the balance scales. It's, this is what my community, this is what my family, this is what the people that I work with, this is, and you get into that tribal mindset, and that's stalling progress in so many areas. You could say that's stalling progress in climate change. That's most definitely stalling progress with mental health, with LGBTQ rights. But it also is affecting our communities in the fact that the things that we need and want are even slower to happen. But I'm someone who likes to, make sure that the onus is truly placed everywhere that it belongs. And we have to accept and understand the onus that's on us. It's easy to get mad, and I'm never going to tell anyone not to get mad. In fact, get mad and use your mad to be righteous and to fuel you. I'm never going to say don't get sad, don't get depressed. That's unrealistic. But there comes a point where you have to take those feelings and either recycle them into something else or set them free, because you have to set yourself free. And truly, the humanness of ourselves is mirrored back to us in the humanness that we seek, see, and and accept in others, even if they are diametrically, completely opposed to you in all the ways they think, feel, and live their lives. There's still one thing that you have in common. You both have beating hearts. And I think that, the more we put that kind of energy into the world in everything we do, the more the pendulum will swing back.
That's really what access embodies, literally, is that sense that at some very, very basic level, we are all the same. And we all have these things in common that when they are challenged, we all need to stick up for each other.
A certain company that I know is very fond of access is a human right. And when I first started, hearing that, it was like a smack upside the back of the head with one of my grandmother's wooden spoons. Like, oh my God, yeah, of course it is. Why haven't we been saying this for 10 years?
And it's almost hard to believe because we, I think, have settled for so long for whatever we could get from the system, from various people, even on a one-on-one basis. And now to say, wait a minute, I actually deserve this. This is something that I require. And it goes back to access to visual information. So many of us who have been blind for a while have said, okay, I got along without it. I'm fine. I'll take audio description, but if it's not there, I'm okay. You know what? I'm not okay anymore.
Yeah.
I have been exposed now to all of those things that are visual that I am missing. And now I get a little upset if my technology doesn't work because I don't have cell service in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, or, whatever the case may be. I'm not able to take advantage of visual interpreting or Braille on an elevator. And you would be amazed how I just short circuit when I can't find the Braille signage. And little things like that. But having this as a human right is just really, really powerful.
I think so too. And I'm going to say something that's going to sound a little harsh, but at the base of it, it's true. If the answer in your mind and in your heart is it's too hard, or it's never going to happen, or it's never going to change, or they're never going to listen, and I get millions of examples, but you figure out what I'm saying here. If you subscribe to that in your head and heart, then you just answered your own question. For you, it's never going to happen. Everybody should be advocating every day. And having said that, I don't think everybody should be me or you or Everett or Clark Rockfell or, the shines in our communities. But that concept of if you see something, say something, it can be so small. It can be walking into the store where you just bumped into one of those overhanging, flying, waving, fabric signs and saying, hey, I can't, and many others in my community can't see this. And so, if you raised it up a foot or moved it here or there, small acts are just as powerful and just as important and just as needed as the big ones or the moderate ones.
You have taken part in some publicity for us here at IRA with the city of Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County. Let's talk a little bit about that. We'll have some representatives from Miami-Dade County and city of Miami Beach, etc., on Access Matters soon. But tell me a little bit about what you've been doing in terms of advocacy.
So the city of Miami Beach itself, like I said, it's an island. And so it is the full island is an IRA access point, which is great. And then Miami-Dade County took them longer, as it can at a county level. Imagine a whole state level. But it took them some time, but they followed suit. And they have rolled it out in all of the government buildings, the libraries, a lot of the recreation areas. But if the people mover, no seats, just the poles. That's all part of the link service. And so they wanted to put a PSA out and approached I'm president of the Miami Beach Council of the Blind, an affiliate of the Florida Council of the Blind. They approached our local chapter and asked if we would participate. And so Gabriel and I spent about 4 hours filming with them yesterday. We went in and out of buildings. We found a reception desk. We did all of the typical uses of Ira when you're, traveling. And it's going to be wheedled down to, I was told there's going to be 2 different versions, a longer version and then a website / on all of the, when you go into rooms, like waiting rooms, all that pre-programmed in the government buildings, it's going to be all over the place. So I hope I looked pretty in these videos, but yeah, so we spent the day doing that, and really we met the ADA compliance coordinator, I believe is her exact title, for Miami-Dade County, who I'd been wanting to meet for a long time. So it was perfect. I got that introduction. And then I hope you don't mind, I'm going to put a little sidebar out there. I've also been working with a local supermarket chain. Well, not local. I mean, they're throughout the Southeast, but I've been trying to get them to give me a meeting to get them to consider Ira. We did a small little run through the supermarket to show the uses of Ira in a supermarket, and the fact that, yes, thank you so much, that there is always a customer service person, hopefully a few minutes and not, a half hour or 45 minutes away from helping you. But more importantly, being able to walk through the door, find a few, I don't think I ever do a $400 shop. I have to be honest.
Goodness, no. That would.
But to be able to do a $54 shop in 15 minutes all by myself, that's more valuable to me and to my need to be independent than anything else. Thank you for providing the customer service. I will always highlight the great ones that help me, but it means 1,000 times more to be able to do it for myself. And so I got an email this morning because I had contacted them yesterday. The video was filmed. They should be sending you the raw footage. And this person now is bringing it to a certain corporate team to get a meeting on the books. They asked a couple of questions that sort of like what you were asking today. What does it mean for you? Why is this so important for you? And those weren't questions that she would have thought to ask in the initial conversation. And even if I had harped on those points, there's something to be said for me personally telling her and then showing her with a video. But, the personalization of it is what really counts.
And with any technology, doesn't matter what you're deploying with your business or at your workplace, to actually see the impact that it does directly have on people and how they use it is really, really instructive. And I think it behooves you, if you can, to make sure that you can get a demo of the product. I'm not saying don't ever take anybody's word for it, but see for yourself what it can do for the people that really appreciate using it. And that can be anything from Ira to an app to a labeling system, whatever it is. And know that one product is not going to meet all of your needs. I think that's a big one. But I'll tell you what, after spending about 15 minutes going around this large cheese display at the deli at one of my local stores that is going to soon have Ira, we hope, I spent so much money because I said, oh, look, I didn't know they had that. Let me get one of those. Before I knew it. So as we have said here many times before, people with disabilities have money. We'd love to spend it at your business.
Janine, I recently found out they make birthday cake Oreos. Never heard of it before.
Oh, my goodness.
Never. Yeah. Oh, my God. They're delicious. Sidebar.
Birthday cake Frappuccino is magical. Well, Anthony, you are all over the place online. You have a number of things that you do online and places where people can hear you much more. Tell us a little bit about where we can find you online and where we can hear more from Anthony and also, maybe reach out to you.
Well, I host a podcast on the ACB Media Network called Sunday Edition. And sometime between now and the end of January, I will be launching a website and a blog that goes alongside it. working on it now with some ACB
Awesome.
notables, but it'll be fully independent. I want to brand up Sunday Edition. So if you'd like to reach out to me, you can get me at Sunday Edition AC, all one word, no hyphens or anything, Sunday Edition AC at gmail.com. You can find Sunday Edition on all your major podcast catchers or by going to acbmedia.org and looking under podcasts. I am also involved in Pride Connection. One of my guilty pleasures is soap operas. So I also am a co-host on Take the Number 2 radio soaps. You can find that wherever you get your podcasts. And I do a lot of freelance writing. That's going to be a section of the Sunday Edition website as well. Yeah, I think those are the best ways to reach me.
And we will list all of those in the show notes. If you happen to miss one, never fear, they will be in the show notes and there will be links. Well, thank you so much, Anthony, and please give Bodhi a scratch for me. Anthony and I have known each other since that first guide dog experience. So it's been so much fun to get to know you more over the years and to be able to feature your work and Gabriel's work at advocating for a more accessible world.
Thank you so much. Can I leave the audience with one thought?
Absolutely.
I was saying earlier, advocate, do something every day. And I truly do believe that if it's an email, if it's a phone call, I say that if I'm going to post something on my socials, it is most definitely accompanied with at least an email to my local representative state, whatever I'm posting about. My dad always taught my sister and myself, don't be afraid to ask the questions. And so, when you're in your supermarket or you're in a local business, when you're at your airport, it cannot hurt to ask and start the conversation, whether it be advocating for IRA, advocating for, a pedestrian signal at a particularly interesting spot. If you don't make that first contact, then it's never going to happen. And it doesn't hurt to ask. So thank you so much for letting me ramble on and on today.
We appreciate having you as part of the IRA family, and we're looking forward to that grocery store coming online with us.
Awesome.
To continue the theme of practical access, we have a little demonstration of one of the features of the IRA app. Now, there are, as Anthony noted, many apps that people use to increase their access to goods, services, experiences, etc. One of the features that we have in the IRA app is called screen sharing. This is a feature that's available through iOS and Android phones and can be used for a number of things. In this example, with an IRA agent, Everett takes a look at some workmen at his home.
Hi, Harmony. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. And yourself?
Oh, doing just fine. Hey, I want to do a screen share with you, and I want to see if you can see through my Ring app on my doorbell if there's anybody at the front door or anything like that, or a package or something.
All right.
So let's go. All right. Gonna go do screen share here. Just give me a second.
Everett sets up the screen share in the IRA app. This will allow the agent to see his phone screen and hence the video from the Ring doorbell camera.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to go ahead and go to the Ring app.
This allows for a quick and seamless transition for the agent to assist the customer.
You still with me, right?
Yes, I can see you switching apps right now.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
There's Ring. Okay. So I just got a notification that there was somebody at my door. I don't know if it's still there, though.
I do see like a one notification and a front door icon with an image. This seems to be someone opening the door. They're holding...
Oh, there is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're holding what?
They're holding a metal device, opening the red door from the inside, coming out from the inside. There's also a big, large gray truck parked out front, saying something to the effect of sugar paint or... Yeah, something paint.
That is awesome. I have some painters that are going in and out of my house, and that is really cool.
Very cool.
I did not. And so you totally can see everything through the camera, and.
Oh yeah, I could see that he's got like painting materials. He's wearing like a white painter's outfit, He's opening the door coming outside, like coming from the inside out. And the gray door van parked out here, the doors are open, so that's why I can't read the full name. Looks like they're going to go and grab more items from the van.
All right, awesome, Harmony. Thank you so much. This has been very helpful. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Ira Explorer app and end the call. So thank you.
Yes, so you have a great rest of your day then.
You too. Bye-bye.
You can see how practical this particular feature of an app is and what it means to have access to information about what's going on in the world around you. We hope you've enjoyed today's show. Here's some information about our guest, Anthony Corona.
Listen to Anthony on ACB Radio Sunday Edition, https://www.acbmedia.org/category/SE. Email him at sundayeditionac@gmail.com. You can also catch him on the Pride Connection and Take Two Radio Soaps podcasts.
If you have questions or comments about the show, you can email us at accessmatters@ira.io.
You've been listening to Access Matters with Janine Stanley.
This podcast is a production of Ira Tech Corp. To learn more about visual interpreting, visit our website, http://ira.io, or email us at access@ira.io.